The night sky has always held within it a silence so profound that it feels almost alive. When we look upward on a clear night, countless stars shimmer across the dark canvas, their light traveling across unimaginable gulfs of space and time before reaching our fragile eyes. Each point of light seems timeless, eternal, whispering secrets from ages long past. Yet beneath that beauty lies a question that gnaws at the soul. Are these stars merely silent ornaments, scattered by chance across the void, or do they carry within them a hidden code, a message waiting to be deciphered? The silence is both comforting and terrifying. It is the kind of silence that makes one feel at once insignificant and chosen, lost and yet called to listen. Imagine standing on an open plain, away from the glare of modern cities. The night folds around you, a vast ocean of black punctured by shimmering islands of light. The stars are not distant then, they are overwhelming, pulling your gaze into infinity. Their quiet presence is not empty, it is filled with possibility. Ancient civilizations once stood in the same posture, their necks craned toward the heavens, searching for meaning. They, too, must have asked, do these celestial fires speak in symbols too vast for the human tongue? Are we part of a grander dialogue, written not in words, but in light itself? The mystery deepens when we realize that the starlight we see tonight may have begun its journey before humanity even existed. Some of these photons were born in stars that lived and died before our species walked the earth. Others stream toward us from galaxies so far away that they carry messages from billions of years ago, relics of an earlier universe. To look up is not just to see beauty, it is to peer back through time itself. Each flicker is an ancient memory, a frozen instant preserved in motion, racing through the cosmos to reach us now. The sky becomes less a decoration and more an archive, a silent chronicle of existence. Yet silence can deceive. We are creatures who crave meaning, who weave stories into every pattern, who search desperately for order in chaos. The constellations we trace across the sky are, in truth, imaginary. And yet, through imagination, we find connection, perhaps even direction. Could it be that the code of the stars is less about what they say, and more about how we choose to listen? If so, the silence is not emptiness but invitation, a challenge for humanity to decipher what lies hidden beyond appearances. This thought unsettles and excites. For if the stars hold a code, then we are not mere wanderers in the void, we are participants in a vast communication, even if we do not yet know the language. The silence becomes charged with expectation, like the pause before a symphony begins. It is a silence that hums with invisible frequencies, vibrations too subtle for the human ear. The sky feels less like a passive backdrop and more like a canvas of encrypted signals, etched in light, time, and geometry. The prologue of this cosmic story is one of contrasts. There is beauty in terror, comfort and unease. To gaze at the stars is to encounter both our smallness and our potential. Their silence can feel like abandonment, yet it can also feel like intimacy, as though something greater is waiting patiently for us to awaken. Civilizations rise and fall, technologies evolve, but the stars remain, steady and unbroken, like guardians of truths too immense to be spoken aloud. Perhaps that is the true enigma, the silence is not empty, but deliberate. It forces us to confront ourselves, to decide whether we will see randomness or design, indifference or hidden purpose. What we make of the sky reflects what we make of ourselves. The ancient stars hang above, indifferent to our interpretations, yet irresistible in their pull. They do not need to shout, their quiet persistence is more powerful than any thunderous voice. And so we stand, at the threshold of mystery, aware that in every ray of starlight lies both a question and an answer. To look up is to awaken to the possibility that the universe is not mute, but coded. The prologue closes not with certainty but with a question that will echo throughout the journey ahead. When the sky whispers in silence, are we truly listening, or merely gazing in wonder at a message we have yet to understand? Long before cities glowed with artificial light and before telescopes pierced the heavens, there were human beings who simply looked up. In those early nights, the sky was an unbroken sea of stars, more vivid and numerous than most of us can imagine today. For the first stargazers, the night sky was not a distraction or a backdrop, it was the great stage of existence itself. They had no equations, no instruments, yet they carried within them the same awe and fear we feel today when we stand under the dark expanse. Around the flicker of firelight, early humans carved patterns on cave walls, not only of animals they hunted but of constellations they traced above. The oldest surviving cave paintings in Lascaux and Chauvet hint at star clusters like the Pleiades, suggesting that tens of thousands of years ago, eyes already sought meaning in the scattered brilliance of the night. In Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, the sky became more than wonder, it became order. Priests and scribes charted the movements of Venus, Mars, and Jupiter with astonishing accuracy, inscribing their findings on clay tablets that still survive today. The ziggurats they built were not just temples but observatories, designed to bring heaven and earth into alignment. Every rising of a star, every eclipse of the moon, was recorded with painstaking detail. For them, the sky was a divine text, each celestial motion a syllable in a cosmic sentence. They believed that the fates of kings and empires were encoded in these patterns, and in their careful watching they began the long tradition of astronomy itself. The Egyptians looked skyward not only for omens but for eternity. The pyramids, with their precise alignment to Orion's belt and the circumpolar stars, are silent monuments to the belief that the journey of the soul was inseparable from the journey of the stars. For them, the heavens were not distant, they were a map of the afterlife. Pharaohs were buried beneath shafts that pointed toward the constellations, their souls destined to ascend and join the eternal lights above. Even in death, they sought union with the heavens, trusting that the stars were the pathway to immortality. Across oceans, civilizations disconnected by geography shared the same obsession. In the high Andes, the Inca read constellations not just in stars but in the dark patches of the Milky Way, weaving agricultural calendars from their silent positions. In Polynesia, sailors memorized the rising and setting of hundreds of stars, crossing vast oceans guided only by their celestial companions. And in the heart of China, imperial astronomers observed the skies from great towers, believing that the harmony of heaven and earth dictated the fate of the emperor himself. Each culture, distinct and separated, found in the stars a mirror of meaning, a silent code that shaped both ritual and survival. What is most haunting is not merely the detail of their observations, but the universality of their wonder. Without communication across continents, myths and patterns often echoed each other. The serpent in the sky, the hunter with his bow, the great flood foretold by shifting stars, these stories repeated in distant lands as though humanity itself were tapping into a shared cosmic memory. Did these cultures invent these patterns independently, or did they inherit fragments of a forgotten legacy, passed down from a time when humanity first began listening to the stars? The first stargazers walked a line between awe and terror. The stars were both protectors and threats. Comets, with their sudden and fiery tails, were omens of disaster. Eclipses, where the sun or moon seemed to vanish, provoked fear that the very balance of existence had been broken. Yet even fear compelled them to study, to understand, to read deeper into the patterns. Their response was not retreat but observation, transforming mystery into ritual, ritual into knowledge, and knowledge into legacy. These early skywatchers were not scientists in the modern sense, but their work laid the foundation for all astronomy to come. They gazed upward not only to survive, by planting crops, navigating oceans, or predicting floods, but also to ask the same philosophical questions we still wrestle with today. What lies beyond? Are we part of something greater? Does the sky reveal destiny, or does it only reflect our longing for meaning? The image of those first stargazers lingers, figures silhouetted against firelight, eyes turned upward, searching the silence for signs. Their tools were simple, sticks, stones, memory, and imagination, but their vision was vast. They saw in the stars not random sparks but messages, order, guidance, perhaps even the voice of the divine. And though millennia have passed, their questions have not faded. We, too, continue to gaze into the same silent expanse, wondering whether the code they believed in still waits to be unlocked. The journey of decoding the stars begins here, in the simple act of looking upward and daring to believe that the silence might not be silence at all. Across the darkness of the ancient sky, humanity began to weave stories. The stars, scattered in dazzling yet chaotic patterns, became stitched together by imagination into forms of animals, gods, and heroes. This act of creating constellations was not merely a pastime, it was an attempt to impose meaning on the infinite, to transform randomness into order. When a hunter gazed upward, he did not only see specks of light but the outline of a mighty figure with a bow. When a farmer looked toward the horizon, he saw not just points in the sky but signs of when to plant and harvest. Constellations were more than stories, they were maps of time, myth, and survival. The Greeks named Orion, the great hunter, whose belt of 3 bright stars became one of the most recognizable patterns in the heavens. In distant lands, the same stars formed the figure of a warrior or a god, though the names differed. The Pleiades, a tiny cluster of shimmering lights, appeared in the myths of the Japanese, the Native Americans, the Aboriginal Australians, and the Celts. How could such distant cultures, separated by oceans and centuries, arrive at such similar narratives? Was it mere coincidence, or did the patterns themselves speak so clearly that any observer, in any age, felt compelled to see the same forms? The mystery deepens with each repeated story, hinting at a universal code embedded not only in the sky but in the human mind. These constellations became more than markers, they were repositories of myth. To the Greeks, the stars preserved the memory of heroes elevated by the gods. To the Egyptians, they symbolized gods themselves, eternal and unchanging. In Polynesia, the stars were ancestors, guiding voyages across the seas with unseen hands. Each constellation was like a chapter in a celestial manuscript, one that could be read differently depending on who gazed upon it, yet always carrying the same sense of wonder. The night sky became a shared language, written across the heavens, inviting every culture to contribute its own interpretation. Yet beneath these myths lurked a practical genius. Farmers in Mesopotamia knew that when certain stars rose before dawn, the floods of the Tigris and Euphrates would soon follow. Sailors along the Mediterranean recognized constellations that marked cardinal directions, enabling them to cross vast distances with confidence. In India, the nakshatras, lunar mansions defined by star groups, helped build one of the most precise ancient calendars. Stories were not only stories, they were instructions, encoded into myth to ensure that generations could pass down knowledge without needing charts or instruments. The sky was a book, and myth was the key to reading it. But here lies the haunting paradox. Stories created order, yet they also concealed. For behind the beauty of constellations lies the truth that these stars are not truly close, but vast light years apart. The hunter's bow or the serpent's coil exists only from the narrow perspective of Earth. From another star, another world, those same points would form a completely different pattern. What we call Orion is, in cosmic truth, an illusion. And yet, illusions gave rise to calendars, religions, and civilizations. Does this mean that the code we see in the stars is only a projection of our own minds, or is there something deeper that compelled countless cultures to create meaning from the same scattered lights? Consider the Mayans, who tracked the motion of Venus with an accuracy that rivals modern instruments. To them, Venus was not only a planet but a god, whose appearances foretold war, prosperity, or calamity. The Chinese mapped the sky into regions mirroring their empire, believing the heavens reflected the earthly order of the emperor. Aboriginal Australians told stories of the emu in the sky, traced not by stars but by the dark patches of the Milky Way. Despite their different traditions, all these cultures shared one conviction: the heavens were not silent, they were speaking. It was up to humanity to learn how to listen. This universality unsettles us. When myths echo across continents, when the same star clusters inspire similar tales, one must wonder whether this is coincidence, collective psychology, or evidence of a deeper code. Could it be that myths were not merely inventions, but translations, attempts to express truths that words alone could not hold? Were the ancients, in their myths, encoding cycles of time, warnings of cosmic events, or memories of catastrophes written into the stars themselves? As we move from one culture to another, from one myth to the next, the patterns become harder to dismiss. The flood myths tied to constellations, the serpent stories stretching across hemispheres, the repeated figures of hunters, birds, and gods, all point to something larger than chance. The constellations are both unifying and deceiving, comforting and mysterious. They show us that humanity has always sought to bridge the silence of the sky with stories, to turn scattered sparks into a language. And yet, the ultimate question lingers at the edge of perception. Are these patterns we trace onto the heavens reflections of a true cosmic order, or are they mirrors of ourselves, projected onto infinity? The stars remain unchanged, yet our interpretations shift. What remains constant is the impulse to find meaning, to seek a code where perhaps there is none, or perhaps where there is one so vast we can only glimpse its outline through myth. The stage is set for deeper exploration, for if patterns exist in the darkness, then they may hold not just stories of gods and heroes, but truths about the universe itself. Light is the oldest messenger in the universe. Long before words were spoken, before civilizations carved symbols into stone, light was already carrying stories across the cosmic abyss. Every star that shines sends out endless rivers of photons, each one a tiny traveler on a journey that may take millions or even billions of years to arrive at Earth. When we tilt our heads to the heavens, what we see is not the present but the past, an archive of time encoded in beams of light. The silent shimmer of a star is not simply beauty, it is information, a coded message written in wavelengths, awaiting those who can read it. At first glance, starlight feels intangible, a soft glow filling the night. But science reveals its secret complexity. Light, broken into its spectrum, becomes a barcode, a pattern of lines and colors that tells us the story of its source. Through this spectrum, astronomers can determine the elements that compose a star, its temperature, its motion, even its age. A faint star millions of light-years away, invisible to the naked eye, can have its secrets unraveled by splitting its light. What the ancients revered as mystery, modern instruments dissect as data. Yet the wonder remains, for in each flicker lies knowledge beyond imagination. Imagine light as a universal language. Redshifts and blueshifts reveal whether galaxies are racing away from us or drawing closer. Dark absorption lines within the spectrum whisper the names of elements forged in stellar furnaces: hydrogen, helium, carbon, iron. These are not just chemical symbols. They are the building blocks of everything we know, the very ingredients of life itself. When we read starlight, we are not only observing distant suns, we are uncovering the chemistry of our own existence. The stars do not speak in words, but in frequencies, in patterns of color, in the rise and fall of invisible waves. And yet, there is poetry even in the precision. Light carries dual identities: wave and particle, rhythm and spark. In one moment, it ripples outward like music played across the void. In another, it arrives as photons, tiny sparks of reality. Science has revealed this paradox, but rather than diminishing the mystery, it deepens it. How can something be both particle and wave, both matter and energy, both visible beauty and invisible code? Light refuses to be simplified, forcing us to confront the limits of human understanding. It is as if the universe deliberately hides its truths in riddles, daring us to decipher. Consider this haunting thought: the light from some stars we see tonight began its journey before Earth itself had formed. Those photons traveled across time and space while continents shifted, oceans rose and fell, civilizations were born and vanished. And only now, in this brief flicker of human history, they arrive to strike our retinas. Each photon is a survivor of a journey so long it is almost unfathomable. When we see the night sky, we are not simply gazing outward, we are looking backward, staring into the very memory of the cosmos. But silence lingers even within the science. For if light is a code, are we reading it completely, or only scratching its surface? We decode temperature, composition, distance, but what if more is hidden, something beyond the reach of our instruments? What if the universe has encrypted messages not only in what light reveals but in what it conceals? To the unaided eye, light is a mystery. To science, it is data. To philosophy, it is perhaps both, an eternal riddle that connects human thought to cosmic truth. The ancients saw light as divine, a direct link between the earthly and the heavenly. Sunlight gave life, moonlight guided the traveler, starlight inspired myth. Today, even with our telescopes, satellites, and particle detectors, the reverence remains. Light is still our guide, our only real bridge to the unreachable stars. Every exoplanet discovered, every galaxy mapped, every cosmic truth unveiled, all of it comes through the silent gift of light. Without it, we would be blind, adrift in an eternal void. And so the question arises: is light simply a physical phenomenon, or is it something more, a medium of communication, a cosmic language we have only begun to translate? When we split it into spectra, are we hearing the first syllables of a universal tongue? Perhaps the silent code of the stars is not hidden in distant myths or monuments, but already streaming toward us every night, carried on beams of light that bathe our world in both mystery and revelation. In this contrast between science and poetry, precision and wonder, we stand suspended. Light is both an explanation and a question, both an answer and an enigma. The stars remain silent, yet through their light, they speak. The challenge before us is whether we will hear the message fully, or only see the glow and miss the code it carries. The language of light is everywhere, but only those who listen carefully will discover that silence has never truly been silent at all. Across the ancient world, colossal structures of stone rise against the horizon: pyramids, temples, stone circles, and monoliths that defy both time and explanation. To the casual eye, they are monuments to human ambition, relics of cultures long gone. But when seen in the context of the stars, they transform into something else entirely. Instruments of cosmic alignment, architectural codes that tether heaven to earth. In their silent stones, many believe, lies the echo of a universal desire, not merely to worship the gods, but to inscribe the knowledge of the cosmos into forms that could endure. Consider Stonehenge, standing on the Salisbury Plain of England, where great slabs of stone rise like sentinels against the sky. For centuries, its purpose was cloaked in mystery. But careful study reveals that its alignment is no accident. On the summer solstice, the sun rises precisely above the heel stone, casting its light through the circle in a perfect line. On the winter solstice, the same stones capture the dying light of the year. Was this circle a temple, a calendar, or both? To those who built it, the stones were not just rock, they were a dialogue with the stars, a silent code carved into the landscape. Across the desert sands of Egypt, the pyramids loom in geometric precision. The Great Pyramid of Giza is aligned with uncanny accuracy to the cardinal points of the compass. Its shafts point toward Orion's belt and the star Sirius, celestial markers sacred to the Egyptians. To them, the constellation of Orion represented Osiris, the god of resurrection, while Sirius heralded the flooding of the Nile, the lifeblood of their civilization. The pyramids, then, were not only tombs but gateways, structures meant to guide the souls of pharaohs into eternity, through the very constellations that mirrored their myths. The code of the stars was not written in parchment but in the orientation of stone. Journey westward to Chaco Canyon in North America, where the ancestral Puebloans carved an astonishing complex of structures into the desert. The Fajada Butte holds the famous sun dagger, a spiral carved into stone where shafts of light fall precisely on solstices and equinoxes. Their great houses were aligned with lunar standstills, rare cycles that take 18.6 years to complete. Here, too, architecture was not only shelter but cosmology. Each beam of sunlight, each shadow on the stone, was a page in a celestial manuscript, teaching future generations how to measure time and track the heavens. In Mesoamerica, the Maya built observatories like El Caracol at Chichen Itza, its windows perfectly positioned to mark the movement of Venus. The descent of the feathered serpent god, Kukulkan, is still reenacted in shadow each equinox, as sunlight creates the illusion of a serpent slithering down the pyramid steps. To the Maya, astronomy was inseparable from ritual, time, and destiny. They inscribed cycles of Venus and solar eclipses into their architecture so that every stone carried within it a fragment of the cosmic code. What unites all these cultures is not coincidence but intention. Across continents, separated by oceans and centuries, civilizations built with the heavens in mind. Whether through pyramids, megaliths, or observatories, they aligned their creations with solstices, equinoxes, and star risings. The scale of this effort is staggering. To cut, transport, and raise stones weighing tons without modern machinery was not only an engineering feat, it was an act of devotion to a higher order. Why else would entire societies pour resources into these alignments unless they believed the stars were speaking truths too vital to ignore? Yet questions linger like shadows among the stones. Were these monuments built purely for ritual and symbolism, or were they attempts to encode knowledge, scientific, mathematical, and astronomical, into forms that could withstand the erosion of time? Could Stonehenge, the pyramids, or the Mayan temples be libraries in stone, preserving a cosmic language for future generations to decode? This possibility stirs both wonder and unease, for it suggests that these ancient builders may have understood more about the heavens than we often give them credit for. There is also the mystery of precision. The Great Pyramid's alignment is so exact that even today it astonishes architects and astronomers. The builders of Stonehenge not only aligned their stones but transported them from quarries hundreds of miles away, as though the location and angle were essential. The Maya tracked celestial cycles with a precision that rivaled European astronomers centuries later. How did they achieve such accuracy without telescopes, compasses, or modern mathematics? Were these feats the result of sheer human ingenuity, or were they guided by knowledge that has since been lost? The imagery of these monuments is haunting. Picture the sun rising behind Stonehenge, its light slicing through stone corridors carved thousands of years ago. Imagine the shafts of the Great Pyramid pointing to Orion, guiding the soul of a king into the night sky. Visualize a Mayan priest standing atop a pyramid, watching Venus blaze on the horizon, declaring the beginning of war or peace. These are not random rituals but profound conversations between humanity and the stars. In every alignment, in every stone, lies the suggestion of a code, a deliberate attempt to connect heaven and earth. But the silence of these structures also provokes fear. If these monuments were meant to preserve knowledge, then how much of it has slipped away? What rituals, meanings, or instructions have been lost to time, leaving us only fragments of their cosmic vision? We can measure the alignments, we can marvel at the precision, but can we truly understand the intent? Or are we staring at a language whose grammar we no longer possess? The legacy of these cosmic architects forces us to reconsider what it means to build. To them, architecture was not simply shelter or decoration, it was an act of communion with the universe. The stones were not mute, they were coded with meaning, standing as eternal reminders that humanity has always sought to reach beyond itself. These monuments still stand today, defying time, reminding us that the quest to decode the stars is as old as civilization itself. Civilizations rise, flourish, and vanish, leaving behind fragments of stone, shards of pottery, and whispers of stories. Yet in the silence of history, there lingers a haunting question. Did some of these lost worlds know more about the stars than we imagine? Mainstream archaeology assures us that ancient peoples observed the sky with naked eyes, crafting myths and calendars from careful observation. But scattered across history are puzzles, out-of-place artifacts, inexplicable alignments, and myths too precise to be coincidence, that suggest fragments of knowledge may have slipped through the cracks of time. Could it be that advanced astronomical wisdom once existed, carried by civilizations that left behind little but shadows? Take the Sumerians, among the earliest known civilizations. On their clay tablets, astronomers inscribed detailed records of celestial movements, so detailed that they could predict eclipses with surprising accuracy. Yet one tablet, the Mo. Apin, reads almost like a star manual, containing lists of constellations and rising times that seem astonishingly sophisticated for a people living over 3,000 years ago. Was this simply the brilliance of observation, or did they inherit knowledge older than their own cities? Some researchers whisper of a forgotten legacy passed down through myth, encoded in the earliest writings of humanity. Further west, the Greeks spoke of Atlantis, a mighty civilization that, according to Plato, sank beneath the sea in a single night. To scholars, it is allegory, a philosophical story of hubris and downfall. Yet others wonder, could Atlantis be a distorted memory of a real civilization that once possessed astronomical knowledge far beyond its time? The pyramids, the temples, and the myths of catastrophic floods echoed worldwide. Could they all be fragments of a deeper truth, a story of knowledge lost to disaster? Consider also the Antikythera mechanism, discovered in the wreck of an ancient Greek ship. This device, built more than 2 millennia ago, contained gears so intricate that scientists now call it the world's first analog computer. Its purpose? To predict the motions of the heavens, eclipses, planetary alignments, lunar phases. 4 centuries, no other device approached such sophistication until the development of European clocks in the Renaissance. If such advanced technology existed in the ancient world, what else might have been lost, swallowed by time and silence? In the Americas, the Olmecs and Maya constructed observatories aligned with Venus, tracking its cycles with accuracy that astonished modern scholars. The Maya calculated the length of a solar year with an error so small it outperformed calendars in use in Europe until centuries later. And yet, when Spanish conquest shattered their civilization, much of this knowledge was destroyed in flames, their codices burned by missionaries. How much wisdom was erased in that act, leaving us with only fragments of what once was? Then there are the myths, strange, persistent echoes from cultures separated by oceans. Stories of great floods, of fiery stars falling from the sky, of gods descending from the heavens bearing knowledge. The Dogon people of Mali tell of Sirius, not only the bright star we see but its hidden companion, a faint white dwarf invisible to the naked eye. When European astronomers confirmed the existence of this companion in the 19th century, the question arose, how did the Dogon know? Was it coincidence, misinterpretation of their myths, or a survival of forgotten astronomical insight? Skeptics argue that such claims are exaggerations, distortions of myth, or the product of chance. They caution against reading too much into coincidence, warning that human imagination is skilled at connecting dots that were never meant to align. They remind us that oral traditions change, that myths shift over centuries, that we must not leap from mystery to conclusion without evidence. And yet, the mysteries remain, stubborn and unresolved, provoking a sense of unease. What if humanity's story is not linear, not a simple march from ignorance to knowledge, but cyclical? What if, in the great sweep of history, knowledge has been gained, lost, and rediscovered many times? Floods, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and the collapse of empires, all could have buried wisdom beneath ruins. In such a view, modern science may not be the first to decode the heavens, but merely the latest to pick up pieces of a much older code, shattered and scattered across millennia. The silence of lost civilizations is both eerie and seductive. Walking among ruins, we feel the presence of minds that once gazed at the same stars, who perhaps knew things we have forgotten. Did they chart the heavens with precision, only to vanish, leaving us to rediscover what they already knew? Or are we inventing ghosts, projecting our longing for mystery onto stones that never held such secrets? The truth is uncertain, suspended between skepticism and wonder. And yet, one truth remains: human beings, no matter the era, have always reached upward. Whether in Sumer, Egypt, Mesoamerica, or the forgotten jungles and deserts of the world, civilizations sought to understand their place beneath the stars. If some of their knowledge is lost to us, then we inherit not only their silence but their challenge, to continue listening, searching, deciphering. The stars remain above, patient and unchanged, holding the same mysteries they once studied. What has been lost may yet be found, if only we dare to seek it. Above the deserts of Egypt, 3 great pyramids rise like silent sentinels, their massive stones bathed in moonlight. For centuries, they have inspired awe, speculation, and wonder. Yet beyond their grandeur lies a mystery that refuses to fade. Why were they built with such precise alignment to the heavens? The Great Pyramid of Giza is oriented almost perfectly to the cardinal points, north, south, east, and west, with an accuracy so uncanny it rivals modern engineering. Even stranger, some scholars point out that the 3 pyramids of Giza mirror the arrangement of Orion's belt, a constellation revered in Egyptian mythology as the celestial home of Osiris, god of rebirth. Was this merely symbolic, or was it a coded map, an eternal bridge between earth and sky? Ancient Egyptians saw the sky not as a backdrop of stars but as a living realm of gods. To them, Orion was Osiris, and Sirius was Isis, his consort. The rising of Sirius each year heralded the flooding of the Nile, the lifeblood of their civilization. The very rhythm of their existence was tied to celestial patterns. The pyramids, then, may not have been just tombs, but vast cosmological engines, structures designed to anchor the pharaoh's soul to the stars, ensuring his immortality among the gods. Imagine the night when the star Sirius first rose on the horizon, casting its glow over the desert, aligning with the shafts and chambers of stone. The message was clear, as above, so below. Yet Egypt is not alone in its cosmic alignments. Thousands of miles away, on the windswept plains of England, the stones of Stonehenge stand in silent circles. At first glance, they appear as weathered ruins, but when the midsummer sun rises, it casts its rays directly through the heel stone, illuminating the heart of the circle. Stonehenge, it seems, was an observatory, a temple of light and shadow that tracked the solstices and equinoxes. But how did its builders, over 4,000 years ago, without modern tools or written records, move these megaliths weighing up to 25 tons, and align them with the cycles of the heavens? Were they guided purely by observation, or did they inherit fragments of knowledge that had traveled across cultures and centuries? Across the Atlantic, and in the jungles of Mesoamerica, the Maya constructed temples that functioned as celestial calendars. At Chichen Itza, the pyramid of Kukulkan becomes a living serpent during the equinoxes. As the sun sets, shadows slither along the staircase, merging with the serpent head carved at its base. The effect is so precise that it can only occur on those 2 days of balance each year. To the Maya, this was no accident, but a living symbol of cosmic order, encoded in stone. Their cities were arranged in harmony with celestial cycles, their rituals synchronized with Venus, the moon, and the sun. They did not simply watch the sky, they built their world as a reflection of it. In Peru, the vast Nazca lines stretch across the desert floor, geometric figures, animals, and straight lines so long they can only be fully seen from the air. Some of these lines align with the solstices and key stars, suggesting they, too, were part of a grand celestial map. Were these lines messages to the gods, pathways for ritual, or astronomical markers guiding ancient people through the mysteries of the sky? Their silence deepens the enigma. Across the globe, one theme repeats: ancient monuments bound earth to sky. Why would cultures, separated by oceans and time, invest such enormous effort to align stone with stars? Did they all arrive at this pursuit independently, or does it hint at a shared ancient code, a universal understanding of the cosmos that transcended geography? Skeptics argue that alignments can be coincidental, the result of countless possible points in the sky. Yet the consistency, the deliberate precision, pushes coincidence into question. Perhaps these monuments were not simply expressions of architecture, but of memory. A memory of cataclysms, of floods, of fiery skies that once threatened the survival of humanity. By aligning with the heavens, ancient people may have sought to anchor themselves to permanence, to mark the cycles of time, to preserve knowledge in stone that could endure long after their voices faded. Each alignment was a whisper to the future: we were here. We understood. And here lies the paradox: the stones stand silent, yet they speak. They tell us of a human need to find order in the cosmos, to anchor chaos within structure, to leave a legacy not of words, but of eternal alignment. But the deeper question remains: were these monuments simply reflections of devotion and survival, or were they encoded messages, fragments of a silent code carried across civilizations, pointing us toward truths we have yet to decipher? The stars will above us as they did for the ancients, unchanging, eternal. Yet we, standing among the ruins, are left to wonder: were these alignments the product of patient eyes, or echoes of a forgotten knowledge passed down through shadowed centuries? The monuments remain, daring us to listen, daring us to question. And with each stone that matches the heavens, the silence deepens into mystery. High in the mountains of the Andes, where the air thins and clouds brush the peaks, lies a city carved from stone, Machu Picchu. To the untrained eye, it is a fortress or palace, a monument to the Inca's power. But look closer, and the stones whisper something more. The city is not random, its structures align with solstices, equinoxes, and cardinal directions. At dawn on the June solstice, sunlight strikes the Intihuatana stone, casting no shadow at all, as if the sun itself had been tethered to earth. For the Inca, this was not just architecture, it was astronomy encoded into landscape, a way to harmonize human life with celestial order. Yet Machu Picchu is only one piece of a vast puzzle. Across Peru, the Inca built temples and roads that seemed woven into the sky's rhythms. Cusco, their capital, was designed in the shape of a puma, its sacred center aligned with constellations visible in the Milky Way. Unlike the star patterns recognized in Europe, the Inca saw animals not in the stars themselves but in the dark gaps of the Milky Way's dust lanes, an intimate relationship with the night sky, as if they read not just the light but the silence between. Why design a city to mirror constellations, if not to bring the heavens down to earth? Journey east to the deserts of Mesopotamia, and we find the towering ziggurats, stepped pyramids that rose like mountains above the flat plains. These structures were temples, yes, but they were also cosmic ladders. Their very design represented a bridge between earth and sky, their stairways leading priests upward, closer to the realm of gods and stars. Some were aligned with cardinal points, serving as markers for celestial events. In their myths, the heavens were a realm of order, and ziggurats were built to maintain balance, a reminder that humanity's fate was always written in the stars. Further north, in the frozen landscapes of the Arctic, the Sami people tracked the cycles of the sun and stars to guide reindeer migrations. To them, the constellations were not abstract patterns but living guides. Polaris, the North Star, was an anchor for navigation across endless white horizons. Their survival depended not just on earthly knowledge, but on their reading of the heavens. In the shimmering auroras, they saw omens, voices from beyond, shimmering threads binding their world to the mysteries above. In India, ancient Vedic texts describe the cosmos with precision that startles modern minds. The Rig Veda, composed thousands of years ago, speaks of the sun's journey, lunar cycles, and celestial rhythms that underpin life itself. Temples like Konark's Sun Temple were built as giant calendars, their architecture embodying astronomical precision. Shadows cast by stone wheels marked time with accuracy, turning worship into measurement, devotion into science. For the builders, faith and calculation were not separate, they were one. And in China, imperial astronomers mapped the heavens with meticulous care, seeing them as mirrors of earthly order. The Forbidden City itself was built as a terrestrial echo of the cosmos, its layout reflecting constellations and celestial alignments. To the emperors, the mandate of heaven was literal, legitimacy came from the stars, and disturbances in the heavens were signs of chaos on earth. By aligning their cities and rituals with the sky, they sought harmony between cosmic order and human destiny. Again and again, across continents and centuries, we see the same pattern. Civilizations shaping their sacred spaces not only for worship or governance, but as living reflections of the sky. The alignment of stones, temples, and cities was not accidental, it was intentional, a bridge between earth and eternity. What does this repetition mean? Did humanity, separated by oceans and mountains, arrive at the same truth independently, that survival, meaning, and power come from harmony with the stars? Or was there a shared origin, a fragment of ancient knowledge carried and reshaped by each culture in its own image? Skeptics will argue that aligning to the sun and stars is natural, even obvious. The sun rises, the moon waxes, the seasons turn, any society attentive enough could discover patterns and engrave them in stone. But the consistency, the universality, forces us to pause. Why did so many choose not just to observe, but to build monuments so enduring, so carefully tuned to the sky? It suggests something more, an understanding that knowledge must be preserved in a language that outlasts words, stone, shadow, and light. Perhaps these alignments were survival tools, ensuring crops were planted at the right time, floods anticipated, seasons honored. But perhaps they were also philosophical, even spiritual. By inscribing cosmic cycles into stone, ancient civilizations may have been sending messages forward through time, whispers across millennia, that humanity is not separate from the cosmos, but woven into its rhythms. Standing among these ruins today, one feels a quiet awe. Machu Picchu in the mist, Stonehenge at dawn, ziggurats under desert skies, the sun temple glowing with shadow, all share the same silence, the same coded intent. They remind us that long before telescopes, humanity looked upward and sought to bring heaven down to earth. Whether practical or mystical, their monuments remain guardians of a code too vast for us to fully decipher, but too precise to dismiss. The stones still stand. The shadows still fall. And the stars remain, unchanging, patient. In their alignments, we glimpse not only the ingenuity of ancient builders but the enduring question they leave behind. Did they know more than we believe, or are we only now beginning to rediscover what they inscribed in silence? Beneath the velvet canopy of the night sky, one figure has always demanded reverence: the moon. It is the first celestial body humanity ever truly came to know, not through telescopes or machines, but through direct communion with the naked eye. Its phases guided ancient calendars, its tides dictated coastal life, and its eerie glow filled myths with both wonder and fear. For countless civilizations, the moon was not merely a rock drifting in space, it was a deity, a timekeeper, a messenger between the heavens and earth. Yet within its pale silence lies a deeper enigma: why does it exist as it does, and why does it seem so intimately connected to life itself? The moon's orbit and size are peculiar, almost too precise. It is 400 times smaller than the sun, yet it sits 400 times closer to Earth, creating the perfect geometry for total solar eclipses. These breathtaking alignments, where the sun's blazing corona emerges around the moon's shadow, have inspired awe for millennia. Ancient Chinese astronomers recorded eclipses over 3,000 years ago, linking them to the cosmic struggle of dragons devouring the sun. The Maya predicted them with astonishing accuracy, weaving them into cycles of time that governed ritual and sacrifice. To many, eclipses were not coincidences but cosmic messages, reminders of an underlying order, or a hidden code, written in the stars. Beyond myth, the moon exerts a force far more tangible: its gravitational pull. It orchestrates the tides, the ceaseless rise and fall of the oceans, shaping coastlines and ecosystems. Without the moon's steady tug, life on Earth might never have evolved as it did. Some scientists argue that the stability it provides, keeping Earth's tilt steady, preventing chaotic climate swings, was crucial for the flourishing of complex organisms. The moon, in this sense, is not merely companion but guardian, a silent architect of life's stability. Was its presence a cosmic accident, or does its precision hint at something deeper, something intentional in the design of our world? Ancient cultures seem to sense this intimacy. The Egyptians worshipped Thoth, god of the moon, wisdom, and time. The Greeks venerated Selene and Artemis, deities of lunar light and cycles. The Inca honored Mamaquilla, the lunar mother who regulated festivals and seasons. In China, the moon festival celebrates Chang'e, the goddess who lives eternally in its silver glow. Each myth, each ritual, reflects an unspoken understanding. The moon was not only a celestial body but a guide, a regulator, a presence woven into the rhythm of existence. Yet the moon also carries an unsettling silence. Its dark side, forever hidden from Earth, fueled centuries of speculation. Was it a realm of gods, a prison of shadows, a world apart from ours? Even in modern times, when spacecraft revealed its cratered surface, new mysteries arose. The seismic experiments conducted by Apollo missions recorded moonquakes that rang through its surface like a bell, leading some to wonder whether its composition is more peculiar than we imagine. Myths of hollow moons and artificial origins may belong to fringe speculation, yet they persist because the moon's nature feels too finely tuned, too essential, to be dismissed as mere coincidence. Consider also the rhythm of human culture itself. Months, our very measure of time, originate in lunar cycles. Festivals, harvests, and rituals across the globe followed its waxing and waning glow. Its light has inspired poets, guided sailors, and served as a compass in darkness. Even today, in the age of artificial light, the moon retains its quiet dominion, shaping human imagination in ways both subtle and profound. When we look up, we do not merely see reflected sunlight, we see a mirror of ourselves, a reminder of how dependent we are on cosmic precision. Skeptics, of course, remind us that celestial mechanics can explain the moon's behavior without invoking hidden meaning. Its orbit, its size, its tidal effects, all can be understood through the lens of physics. The perfect eclipse, they argue, is nothing more than coincidence, one that will not last forever as the moon slowly drifts farther from Earth. Yet even if coincidence, it is a coincidence so profound that it demands contemplation. Why, out of all possible worlds, do we live on one where the moon and sun appear the same size in our sky? Why does this arrangement allow us to glimpse the sun's corona, unlocking secrets of the universe hidden from all other vantage points? The moon embodies contrast, light and shadow, stability and mystery, familiarity and enigma. It has guided humanity for millennia, shaping both survival and spirituality. But its silence continues to provoke unease. Is it merely a rock, a remnant of cosmic collision, or is it part of a greater pattern, one thread in a code too vast for us to fully read? Standing beneath its glow, we are reminded of our fragility, our dependence, our longing. The moon is not just above us, it is within us, its cycles echoing in our bodies, its rhythms pulsing in the tides of our planet. Its silence is not empty, but filled with meaning, a meaning we continue to search for as we unravel the mysteries of our place in the cosmos. Perhaps, in the moon's quiet gaze, lies the key to understanding not only our past, but our destiny among the stars. Beneath the stillness of the night sky, the moon hangs as both sentinel and mystery, its silver glow casting ancient shadows across the earth. For as long as humanity has existed, its presence has been undeniable, looming above hunters around their fires, farmers tending crops, priests chanting in temples, and lovers whispering beneath its light. Yet for all its familiarity, the moon is far from ordinary. It is not just a celestial companion, it is an architect of time, of tides, of myth, and perhaps even of life itself. Its silence conceals a riddle. Why does it fit so perfectly into the grand design of our world? The moon's size and distance create a spectacle unmatched in the cosmos. Though 400 times smaller than the Sun, it sits 400 times closer, forming the exact ratio needed for perfect solar eclipses. No other known moon in our solar system produces this phenomenon. During these rare alignments, the Sun's blazing corona is revealed, a sight of almost supernatural majesty. Ancient civilizations trembled at eclipses. Chinese records describe dragons swallowing the sun, while the Maya tracked their cycles with uncanny precision, embedding them into their calendars as markers of cosmic order. These events were not random to them, they were coded messages, proof that the heavens were alive with meaning. The moon's influence extends beyond the skies into the very pulse of the earth. Its gravitational pull orchestrates the tides, that ceaseless breathing of the oceans. Without its steady rhythm, coastlines would be barren, marine ecosystems fragile, and perhaps life itself impossible. Even more remarkable is its role in stabilizing Earth's axial tilt. Without the moon, our planet would wobble chaotically, plunging climates into violent extremes. Seasons as we know them would vanish, and the fragile window that nurtured human civilization might never have opened. The moon, then, is more than an observer. It is a stabilizer, a hidden guardian. Was this balance a cosmic accident, or part of an elegant design embedded within creation itself? Mythmakers sensed this intimacy long before science confirmed it. To the Egyptians, the moon was Thoth, god of wisdom and measure, keeper of time. The Greeks honored Selene and Artemis, radiant sisters of light. The Inca worshipped Mamaquilla, goddess of the lunar glow who guided festivals and sowing. In China, the legend of Chang'e spoke of eternal life within the moon's embrace. Again and again, cultures transformed the moon from stone into spirit, weaving its rhythms into their rituals, festivals, and stories. It was not just a body in the sky, it was a mirror of human destiny, a divine presence woven into the structure of existence. Yet with intimacy came unease. The moon's dark side, forever turned away from Earth, haunted imagination for millennia. Was it the realm of spirits? A kingdom of gods? Even when Apollo missions revealed its cratered face, mysteries deepened. Instruments left on its surface detected strange vibrations, moonquakes, that rang like a bell, raising questions about its internal composition. Some fringe theories suggested it might be hollow or artificial, perhaps a construct rather than a natural body. Mainstream science rejects such claims, yet their persistence reflects something deeper, an instinctive recognition that the moon feels too precise, too essential, to be explained as a mere leftover rock adrift in space. Even time itself has been shaped by its glow. Months, our very calendars, are rooted in lunar cycles. Festivals across religions still follow its waxing and waning light, from Ramadan's crescent to Easter's full moon. For sailors, it guided navigation across open seas. For poets, it became a symbol of longing, madness, and romance. For farmers, it dictated planting and harvest. The moon has not just been a companion, it has been an architect of culture, binding the rhythms of Earth to the rhythms of the cosmos. And yet, skeptics remind us that nothing mystical is required. The moon's formation, they argue, can be explained by a colossal impact billions of years ago, when a Mars-sized body struck the early Earth, flinging debris into orbit that coalesced into our companion. Its gravitational role, its eclipses, its cycles, All are natural consequences of physics, not proof of hidden codes. They see beauty in randomness, in the blind yet precise unfolding of cosmic mechanics. Still, even within this explanation, the improbability lingers. Why should such an impact produce such perfect balance, such harmony with life? The moon embodies duality, light and darkness, order and mystery, stability and unease. It has guided humanity for tens of thousands of years, shaping not only our survival but our imagination. It speaks in silence, drawing us to question whether we gaze at coincidence, destiny, or design. It may be the most familiar object in our skies, yet it remains the most haunting, as if it were placed there not only to govern the tides, but to remind us of questions we cannot ignore. When we stand beneath its glow, we glimpse more than reflected sunlight, we glimpse ourselves. Its cycles echo in human bodies, in the rise and fall of oceans, in the turning of calendars. The moon is not merely above us, it is within us, its rhythm stitched into the fabric of life. Perhaps this is why it captivates us still, because its silence feels alive, as though it carries a message we have yet to fully decipher. The moon may be silent, but it is not mute. Its light is a code, written not in words, but in geometry, in gravity, in time itself. Whether accident or design, guardian or chance, it remains the most faithful companion we have ever known, watching, guiding, and reminding us that even in silence, the universe speaks. Far beyond the glowing face of the moon, deeper into the vault of night, lies another mystery that has captured human imagination since the dawn of awareness, the wandering stars, the planets. Unlike the fixed constellations, these luminous points shift across the heavens, tracing patterns that demanded explanation. To ancient eyes, they were not worlds of rock and gas, but living gods moving through the tapestry of the cosmos, weaving destinies with their paths. From Mesopotamian tablets to Mayan codices, from Greek philosophers to Indian sages, the planets became both symbols and signposts, their movements read as part of a hidden script written across the sky. In Mesopotamia, the cradle of astronomy, the Babylonians carefully recorded planetary cycles with extraordinary precision. They charted the motions of Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, and Mars, connecting them to omens of kings and empires. Venus, in particular, fascinated them. Its rising and setting were seen as a celestial dance of life, death, and rebirth. The Venus tablet of Amisaduqa, etched into clay over 3,500 years ago, describes its appearances and disappearances with stunning accuracy. Was this only careful observation, or does it hint at an inherited wisdom, knowledge passed through myth, coded into ritual, waiting to be rediscovered? To the Maya, Venus was no less important. Known as the morning star, it was a god of war and fate. Their Dresden Codex meticulously recorded its cycle of 584 days, and they synchronized battles and sacrifices with its appearances. Imagine the sight, a priest gazing from a temple peak, waiting for the brilliant star to pierce the horizon at dawn, signaling the moment when empires rose or fell. Venus, to them, was not just a planet but a clock, a celestial hand moving across the face of eternity. The Greeks gave us the very word planet, meaning wanderer. To philosophers like Pythagoras and Plato, these wandering lights moved in harmony, producing a music of the spheres, an inaudible symphony of mathematics and proportion. This idea, half scientific and half mystical, inspired centuries of thought, suggesting that the cosmos itself was an ordered song, and that understanding planetary motion might unlock truths about existence itself. To look at the planets was not only to observe, but to listen, to sense the hidden harmony binding heaven and earth. In India, the concept of Navagraha, the 9 celestial influences, placed planets at the heart of both astronomy and astrology. Temples were constructed to honor them, rituals aligned with their cycles, and entire systems of knowledge emerged around their influence on human destiny. The planets were not remote, they were forces, shaping events and individuals, weaving karma into the flow of time. Their study was both science and philosophy, rooted in the conviction that celestial order and human life were inseparable. China, too, recorded the wandering stars with meticulous care. Jupiter was called the year star, its 12-year cycle forming the basis of their zodiac. Planets were tied to the 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water, and their alignments were read as omens of harmony or chaos within the empire. To emperors, the planets were advisors, their movements interpreted by court astronomers as warnings or blessings from heaven. When rare conjunctions occurred, they were celebrated, or feared, as turning points in the fate of nations. Yet the planets were not only objects of wonder and ritual, they were also practical guides. Farmers relied on their cycles to anticipate seasons. Navigators studied their paths to orient themselves across oceans. The wandering stars were silent teachers, embedding within their movement a code for survival and continuity. And as cultures across the world wove myths around them, a deeper question emerges. Why were these celestial bodies so universally seen as carriers of meaning? Modern science, of course, strips away the myths and replaces them with mathematics. We now know the planets are worlds: Jupiter, a storm-racked giant; Saturn, with its ethereal rings; Venus, cloaked in poisonous clouds; Mars, a desert waiting to be explored. Their motions are governed not by gods but by gravity, their cycles predictable through Kepler's laws and Newton's equations. Yet even within this framework of physics, the old wonder lingers. How extraordinary is it that these worlds move in such elegant order, bound to the sun in a celestial dance that has remained unchanged for billions of years? Skeptics argue that human beings impose meaning where none exists, that the myths of Venus, the omens of Jupiter, the songs of the spheres are projections of imagination onto indifferent lights. But perhaps imagination itself is part of the code, a bridge between perception and truth. The planets inspired myths not because they demanded them, but because humanity sensed in their wandering a reflection of its own journey, restless, cyclical, searching for order. Even today, the planets captivate us. Telescopes reveal their storms, their craters, their alien landscapes, yet their pull remains as much philosophical as scientific. When Jupiter and Saturn aligned in the Great Conjunction of 2020, millions watched, just as ancient stargazers once did, marveling at the rarity of the event. We are not so different from our ancestors, still gazing upward, still wondering what the wanderers are trying to tell us. The planets are not merely dots of light. They are markers of time, symbols of order and chaos, reminders of both our smallness and our capacity to dream. They wander, but their wandering is not random, it is written into a greater pattern, a silent geometry that has guided humanity since the first eyes lifted to the stars. And so, the question lingers, are we deciphering their code through science, or are we merely remembering what ancient civilizations already knew, that the planets are not just wanderers, but messengers of the eternal? Through the veil of night, beyond the steady lights of stars and the wandering dance of planets, lies a phenomenon that has unsettled, terrified, and fascinated humanity for millennia: eclipses. Few events in the sky have gripped ancient cultures with such intensity, for they seem to defy the natural order. The sun, radiant giver of life, suddenly swallowed by shadow. The moon, gentle companion of night, mysteriously darkened or turned to blood. To those who did not know orbital mechanics, eclipses were cosmic ruptures, moments when heaven and earth seemed to collapse into one. And even today, despite all our science, there is something eerie and sacred about standing beneath a darkened sky, watching the sun vanish in silence. The Babylonians were among the first to predict eclipses, recording them meticulously on clay tablets as omens of kings' fortunes. To them, a solar eclipse could mean disaster, a warning that the balance of the cosmos had been disrupted. In some cases, they placed substitute kings on the throne, temporary figures meant to absorb the wrath of heaven, while the true king hid until the shadow passed. Imagine the fear in the hearts of common people, staring up at the darkened sky, believing that the fate of their world was being rewritten in real time. In China, eclipses were bound to the emperor himself. The sun was seen as the symbol of the emperor's mandate to rule, and its sudden darkening meant that cosmic approval was slipping away. Court astronomers, therefore, were charged with predicting eclipses, not only for scientific curiosity but for the survival of their own lives. A famous tale tells of two astronomers, He and Ho, who failed to anticipate an eclipse. They were executed for their negligence, for in missing the shadow, they had failed the emperor and endangered the empire. Eclipses here were not merely celestial events, they were political reckonings, shadows falling not just on the land but on power itself. The Greeks, with their relentless quest for understanding, sought explanations that went beyond myth. It was Thales of Miletus, in the 6th century BCE, who is said to have predicted a solar eclipse, stunning his contemporaries. To the Greeks, eclipses were puzzles of geometry, the Earth's shadow swallowing the moon or the moon's shadow blotting out the sun. But even in their rational explanations, they wrapped the events in metaphor. Plato saw them as reminders of impermanence, signs that even the brightest lights could be extinguished. Aristotle studied the curved shadow of Earth upon the moon, using it as evidence that our planet was spherical. Thus, in their darkness, eclipses offered revelation, proof that the cosmos obeyed hidden rules waiting to be discovered. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the Maya and the Aztecs wove their own myths around these moments of cosmic rupture. The Maya feared that during eclipses, celestial jaguars might devour the sun or moon, plunging the world into eternal night. Rituals, chants, and sacrifices were performed to restore balance, for the very continuation of time seemed to hang in the balance. The Aztecs, who saw the cosmos as sustained by constant offerings, treated eclipses as moments of danger when the cosmic order might collapse if not fed with blood. These rituals may seem distant to us, but they reveal something profound. Eclipses forced human beings to reckon with fragility, with the terrifying thought that the sky itself could fail. Even in more recent times, eclipses were interpreted as signs of destiny. In medieval Europe, chronicles describe battles and deaths of kings coinciding with eclipses, their shadows cast as omens of fate. The blood moon, when Earth's shadow paints the moon red, was seen as a sign of apocalypse, tied to prophecies of the end times. It is no accident that such imagery found its way into sacred texts, where the darkening of the sun and the reddening of the moon were written as signs of ultimate judgment. And yet, beneath the myths and fears, eclipses also carried beauty. Ancient poets wrote of the hush that fell over the land, of birds ceasing their song, of stars emerging in daytime as if the world had inverted itself. There is a haunting poetry to the fact that the sun and moon, vastly different in size, appear nearly identical from Earth's perspective, allowing for the perfect alignment that creates total eclipses. This cosmic coincidence, this symmetry of scale, feels like a riddle, as though the universe has staged a spectacle too precise to be mere chance. Modern science explains eclipses with precision. The moon's orbit, tilted and elliptical, crosses just so with the Earth and the Sun, creating these rare alignments. We can now predict them centuries in advance, mapping the path of shadows across the globe. Astronomers marvel at the corona revealed during solar eclipses, the Sun's hidden crown of plasma that cannot be seen otherwise. In lunar eclipses, we observe Earth's shadow stretching across space, a visible reminder of our planet's place in the cosmic ballet. For scientists, eclipses are opportunities, moments when the veil of light is briefly lifted, and hidden truths come into view. And yet, no matter how much we explain, the old order remains. Stand in the path of totality, and you will feel it. The sudden chill in the air, the twilight descending at midday, the collective gasp of thousands of onlookers as the sun vanishes. Cameras may capture it, equations may predict it, but the human soul still trembles before it. Eclipses remind us that the universe is not just knowable, it is experimental, visceral, capable of overwhelming us in silence and shadow. What then is the silent code within these cosmic events? Perhaps eclipses are reminders that light and darkness are woven together, that cycles of obscurity and revelation define both the cosmos and the human journey. They teach us humility, that even the most constant lights can falter. But they also whisper of resilience, for the sun always returns, and the moon always emerges, restored from shadow. In their fleeting darkness, eclipses tell a timeless story, that endings are never truly endings, but pauses in a greater rhythm, shadows within a dance that never ceases. Beyond the drama of eclipses, the night sky holds subtler mysteries, patterns that are not sudden ruptures, but slow, deliberate signatures etched into time itself. Among these, the precession of the equinoxes stands as one of the most profound and haunting. To the casual observer, the stars seem eternal, fixed in their constellations. Yet over centuries, they drift, as though the heavens themselves are breathing, shifting imperceptibly with the turning of ages. This slow wobble of Earth's axis, invisible to the eye in a single lifetime, creates cycles that last nearly 26,000 years. For ancient civilizations, the recognition of this cycle was nothing less than a revelation, proof that time itself was cosmic, that epochs and ages unfolded according to a rhythm written in the stars. The first traces of this knowledge appear in fragments across the ancient world. In Mesopotamia, priests carefully tracked the rising points of constellations at dawn, noticing shifts too subtle for ordinary recorders. In India, the Vedic texts spoke of celestial ages, yugas, that mapped humanity's destiny across vast cycles of decline and renewal. In Egypt, the alignment of temples to the heliacal rising of Sirius hinted at an awareness of the slow drift of the stars, for the architecture itself preserved a timeline far longer than any dynasty. How did these cultures, separated by oceans and centuries, sense a truth so elusive? Did they inherit fragments of forgotten knowledge, or did they, through patient observation, decode the very motion of the heavens? The Greeks gave this mystery a name. Around 150 BCE, Hipparchus of Nicaea compared his own observations of the stars with records from centuries before and made a startling discovery. The equinoxes, the points where day and night are equal, were not fixed. They were moving, creeping backward through the zodiac at a rate of 1 degree every 72 years. To him, this meant the heavens themselves were shifting, the great cosmic wheel turning in silence. His discovery revealed not just astronomy but philosophy. the idea that even the stars were not eternal, but subject to change, bound to cycles greater than human imagination. This concept of precession inspired myths of cosmic ages. The Greeks spoke of the Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Bronze, and the Iron, a descent through cycles of purity into corruption. The Hindus spoke of Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga, great cycles of virtue and decay, light and darkness. The Maya, too, encoded vast spans of time into their long count calendar, mapping epochs of creation and destruction. Across cultures, the idea recurs: humanity does not move in a straight line, but in spirals, bound to the turning of the heavens. Could it be that the precession of the equinoxes served as the hidden clock of these mythic ages, a celestial metronome keeping time with the rise and fall of civilizations? For the Egyptians, the cycle was woven into the very stones of their monuments. The Great Sphinx, gazing eternally eastward, aligns not only with the rising sun but with the zodiac itself. Some researchers suggest that in earlier epochs, it faced not Leo as it does today but different constellations, markers of shifting ages. Whether this was intentional or coincidence remains debated, yet the possibility itself is evocative. A monument that is not just a statue, but a pointer, silently recording humanity's passage through cosmic time. Even in more modern eras, the idea of precession carried symbolic weight. The age of Aries, marked by the ram, coincided with the rise of empires that worshipped warrior gods. The age of Pisces, the fish, saw the birth and spread of Christianity, with its central symbol of the fish. Now, many believe we stand at the dawn of the age of Aquarius, the water-bearer, an age associated with knowledge, awakening, and disruption. Whether one treats this as astronomy or allegory, the resonance is undeniable. The slow turning of the heavens seems to mirror humanity's own tides of change. From a scientific perspective, precession is the simple consequence of gravity. Earth is not a perfect sphere but slightly bulged at the equator, and the sun and moon tug upon this bulge. The result is a slow wobble of Earth's axis, like a spinning top that sways as it turns. No gods, no myths, just mechanics. And yet, the consequences are staggering. The pole star changes over time. Once it was Thuban in Draco, in the future it will be Vega. The constellations marking the equinoxes shift, carrying cultures from one symbolic age to another. It is as if the universe is turning pages in a book, and humanity, knowingly or not, reads along. But even stripped of myth, the mystery remains. Why did ancient cultures care so deeply about these long cycles? What compelled them to watch the skies with such patience that they could sense changes imperceptible in a single lifetime? Perhaps it was because they saw themselves reflected in the heavens. Just as the stars shifted slowly, so too did civilizations rise and fall, languages flourish and fade, wisdom emerge and be forgotten. The precession of the equinoxes was not just an astronomical fact, it was a metaphor for impermanence, for cycles of light and shadow that govern both cosmos and human destiny. Stand beneath the stars today, and the drift continues. Unnoticed by most, the constellations creep, the axis wobbles, and the great wheel turns on. Science has demystified the process, but the ore remains intact. For precession reminds us of a truth larger than any single culture, that time itself is vast, cyclical, and beyond human control. The ancients may not have understood gravity, but they understood meaning. They saw in the stars a mirror of the eternal return, the silent code of renewal and decay, the rhythm that binds humanity to the universe itself. So the question persists, whispered across centuries: are these cycles mere mechanics, or do they hold a deeper design? Do the shifting ages mark nothing more than stellar geometry, or do they echo with a greater intelligence, one that speaks not in words, but in the slow, majestic language of stars turning through time? Among the wonders of the night sky, few have sparked as much fear, reverence, and speculation as the comets. Unlike the steady stars or the graceful paths of planets, comets appear suddenly, ghostly visitors with glowing heads and long, trailing tails, moving against the familiar constellations. To ancient civilizations, they were unpredictable, almost alive, intruders from beyond the known cosmos. Their very unpredictability made them terrifying. A star might guide farmers or sailors, but a comet? It was a wandering flame, a celestial sword, an omen of upheaval. And across cultures and centuries, these streaks of light were interpreted not merely as astronomical phenomena but as messages, warnings written in fire. In Mesopotamia, the appearance of comets was recorded as portents of doom. Clay tablets describe how their sudden arrival signaled the downfall of kings, invasions, or plagues. The Babylonians, meticulous record-keepers of the skies, catalogued comets with the same seriousness as eclipses and planetary motions. To them, the cosmos was a living text, and comets were dangerous punctuation marks, exclamation points of chaos in an otherwise orderly script. The Chinese, perhaps more than any other civilization, documented comets with obsessive detail. Over the course of 2 millennia, they recorded nearly every cometary appearance visible to the naked eye. Known as broom stars, their tails were likened to brushes sweeping across the heavens, clearing away dynasties, rewriting the future. Court astrologers interpreted the length, brightness, and direction of each comet's tail as indicators of what fate awaited the emperor and his people. Imagine the tension in the imperial palace when a blazing comet appeared in the sky, whispers of rebellion, famine, or celestial disapproval filling the air. The comet was not just a celestial body, it was a verdict from heaven itself. In Europe, comets often carried the same dark symbolism. When Halley's comet blazed in 1066, it was seen as a harbinger of conquest. Indeed, that very year, William the Conqueror invaded England, and the comet was immortalized in the Bayeux tapestry as a fiery sign of destiny. Centuries later, comets continued to terrify populations. Chronicles describe people falling to their knees in prayer, fearing the end of the world each time a bright streak cut across the sky. Even learned men, steeped in theology and early science, could not shake the sense that comets were instruments of divine wrath, sent to remind humanity of its fragility. But not all interpretations were fearful. To the Maya, comets were tied to cycles of renewal and destruction, symbols of cosmic balance. They were fiery messengers, agents of change. In some Polynesian traditions, comets were seen as souls of chiefs ascending into the sky, a bridge between the mortal world and the eternal. Here, the comet was not merely an omen of doom, but a reminder of continuity, a signal that life and death were woven into a larger tapestry. Philosophers, too, pondered comets with wonder. Aristotle believed they were atmospheric phenomena, fiery vapors rising into the upper air. This view held sway for centuries, reducing comets to mere illusions of Earth's skies. But in the Renaissance, thinkers began to challenge this. Tycho Brahe, in the late 16th century, observed that a comet's parallax was smaller than the moon's, proving that comets existed beyond Earth's atmosphere. This was a turning point. Comets were not illusions, but celestial travelers, wandering through the vast reaches of space. Then came Edmund Halley, who transformed comets from omens into predictable objects of science. Studying records from previous centuries, he noticed that the comets of 1531, 1607, and 1682 followed the same path. Boldly, he predicted its return in 1758. When it reappeared, as he had foretold, the comet that once signaled chaos became a triumph of reason, a symbol of humanity's ability to decode the heavens. Halley's comet, once a terror, became a messenger not of doom but of knowledge, proof that the universe obeyed laws we could understand. Yet even as science stripped comets of superstition, their allure never faded. They remain, in many ways, the most poetic of celestial objects. Unlike planets, bound to predictable paths, comets travel on elongated orbits that can take them to the farthest reaches of the solar system, into the frozen depths of the Oort cloud, only to return centuries later. Each appearance is a visitation from deep time itself, a reminder of the solar system's ancient birth. Comets carry within them primordial ice and dust, untouched relics from the dawn of creation. When we see one blaze across the night sky, we are witnessing not only beauty, but history, a fragment of the solar system's origin igniting in our atmosphere. In the 20th and 21st centuries, comets have become subjects of intense scientific study. Spacecraft like ESA's Rosetta mission have landed on cometary surfaces, drilling into their icy cores. Analysis of comet dust has revealed complex organic molecules, the very building blocks of life. Some scientists now suggest that comets may have seeded early Earth with water and the raw ingredients of biology, transforming them from omens of death into potential harbingers of life. If true, the very visitors that once terrified humanity might be the reason humanity exists at all. Still, the duality persists. When comet Hale-Bopp appeared in 1997, millions gazed upward in awe. Yet for the Heaven's Gate cult in the United States, it was seen as a sign of transcendence, leading to a tragic mass suicide. Even in our modern world, with satellites and telescopes explaining the mechanics of these icy travelers, comets continue to inspire both wonder and dread. They are reminders that the cosmos, while governed by laws, still holds power over the human imagination. Perhaps that is the silent code comets carry. They embody impermanence, suddenness, and transformation. They remind us that not all cycles are gentle, not all rhythms predictable. Some changes arrive like fire in the sky, shattering the illusion of permanence, forcing civilizations and individuals alike to reconsider their place in the grand design. Whether omen, messenger, or relic of creation, the comet remains one of the most haunting symbols in the human relationship with the stars. Among the silent messengers of the cosmos, few have carried such enduring fascination as the North Star, Polaris, and its predecessors in ages past. Unlike planets that wander or comets that blaze briefly before vanishing, the pole star stands still, an anchor in the swirling sky. To every civilization that gazed upward, it seemed as though one light alone defied the restless movement of heaven, pointing unerringly toward true north. From shepherds guiding their flocks across vast plains, to sailors braving oceans with no land in sight, to mystics meditating beneath temple domes, the pole star became more than just a celestial marker. It was stability itself, a cosmic compass in a universe of change, and perhaps one of the clearest symbols of eternity written above. The ancient Egyptians revered this cosmic stillness with particular devotion. Their pyramids, colossal monuments of stone, were aligned with extraordinary precision to the stars. Archaeologists have discovered that shafts within the Great Pyramid point toward the pole star of that epoch, not Polaris, but Thuban in the constellation Draco. To them, the pole star was the gateway to immortality, the eternal throne of the pharaoh's soul. When the king died, he was believed to ascend into the northern sky, joining the imperishable stars that never set. Thus, the pole was not only a guide for earthly orientation but a promise of eternal life, carved into both sky and stone. Across the oceans, sailors of the Mediterranean relied upon the North Star as the ultimate guide. Long before compasses existed, Polaris served as the fixed point by which ships charted their courses. To a mariner lost at sea, one glimpse of that steadfast light could mean the difference between survival and doom. The Greeks called it Cynosura, meaning dog's tail, yet its role was far grander than its name suggested. It was the torch of navigation, the silent guardian of travelers, the one light they could trust when all others moved. In India, Polaris is known as Dhruva, immortalized in myth. Dhruva was a boy who performed penance so pure that the gods rewarded him with a place in the heavens, forever unshaken by the turning of time. To Hindu cosmology, the fixed star was a spiritual symbol, representing the axis of the universe, the mount upon which the cosmos revolved. In rituals, Dhruva's position marked constancy amidst change, the promise that even in cycles of creation and destruction, one truth remains unmoving. China, too, wove profound meaning into the pole star. Known as the Emperor of Heaven, it was believed to be the celestial counterpart of the earthly emperor. Just as all subjects bowed to their ruler, so too did all stars revolve around the celestial throne. Palaces and cities were often oriented with reference to the pole, reflecting the conviction that harmony between heaven and earth depended on alignment with the cosmic axis. The emperor's legitimacy, then, was not merely political, it was cosmic, sanctioned by the still point in the heavens. Even the Norse, voyagers of stormy seas, placed their trust in the northern light. They saw the sky as Yggdrasil, the great world tree, with the pole star marking the trunk's summit, the axis mundi. To them, it was a spiritual center, binding realms together, Midgard, Asgard, and the other worlds of myth. Thus, whether guiding physical journeys or spiritual cosmologies, the pole star embodied the same truth across cultures. In a universe of flux, there exists a fixed point of orientation, a stillness that allows the restless to find their way. But what makes the pole star so special? It is not the brightest star in the sky, Sirius holds that title. Its uniqueness comes from alignment. Earth spins upon its axis, and Polaris happens to lie almost directly above that axis, appearing fixed while all other stars wheel around it. This is a cosmic coincidence, a quirk of positioning. Yet to human eyes, it became much more. For millennia, people looked upward and saw not charts, but purpose. They saw guidance, eternity, and divine order embodied in that solitary, steadfast glow. Yet even Polaris is not eternal. Because of Earth's precession, the wobble of its axis, the title of pole star changes over millennia. Once it was Thuban, later it will be Vega, in the constellation Lyra. This slow shifting of the celestial axis adds a haunting dimension. What seems eternal is only temporarily so. The pole star, symbol of permanence, is itself impermanent when seen across cosmic timescales. Civilizations may build temples, align pyramids, write myths of eternity, all fixed upon a star that, in the end, moves on. Here lies a profound paradox, humanity's longing for permanence, projected upon a universe that allows nothing to remain unchanged. Modern astronomy reveals the pole star's true nature. Polaris is not a single star, but a system, a luminous supergiant orbited by smaller companions. It pulses slightly, its brightness waxing and waning with rhythms detectable only through instruments. To science, it is a Cepheid variable, a star whose fluctuations help measure distances across the galaxy. Thus, Polaris serves not only as a compass for navigation but as a yardstick for cosmology, aiding in humanity's quest to measure the scale of the universe itself. Yet knowledge has not dulled its symbolism. Even today, Polaris is invoked as a metaphor for guidance, truth, and constancy. Leaders are told to be like the North Star, unwavering, a point by which others may orient their course. Philosophers speak of it as an emblem of moral direction, the light that holds firm when life turns in chaos. In literature, it is the eternal flame, the beacon of orientation, the star that stands alone in silence yet defines the movement of all others. Perhaps this is the silent code of the pole star, that human beings need stillness in order to navigate change, need a reference point against which the chaos of existence can be measured. Whether it is the traveler at sea, the mystic in meditation, or the civilization aligning its temples, Polaris whispers the same message: without a center, there is no orientation; without constancy, movement loses meaning. And yet, the hidden irony remains: the very star that symbolizes eternity is itself passing through a cycle, one light among many that have worn the crown of the North. Thuban once ruled, Vega will rule again. The eternal is only relative, and perhaps that is the deeper revelation. Eternity is not found in fixed stars but in the cycle itself, the endless turning of the axis. The pole star teaches both guidance and humility, permanence and impermanence. It is a paradox glowing faintly above the northern horizon, inviting us to find direction not in illusions of constancy but in the eternal rhythm of change. If the pole star is the anchor of the heavens, then the constellations are its ever-changing stage, the patterns that civilizations have traced upon the night sky since the first sparks of imagination. Unlike planets or comets, constellations are not fleeting or wandering, they are arrangements of stars, distant and unrelated in reality, yet woven together by human vision into stories that endure across millennia. In every culture, people looked upward and refused to see randomness. Instead, they saw hunters and queens, serpents and dragons, birds and rivers. The constellations became a celestial theater, where myth and memory converged, where the vast emptiness was transformed into narrative, meaning, and order. To the Greeks, constellations were woven from myth. Orion the hunter strides across the sky, pursued by the scorpion whose sting killed him. Perseus forever holds the head of Medusa, while Andromeda remains chained to her rock, eternally awaiting rescue. These stories, projected onto the stars, did more than entertain, they encoded values of heroism, tragedy, and transformation. They were also a celestial map. Farmers knew when Orion appeared that winter had come, when Scorpius dominated the sky, summer's heat was near. Myth was thus married to practicality. The constellations told not only stories of gods and monsters but the rhythm of seasons, harvests, and survival. Egypt, too, found narrative in the stars, but their constellations carried spiritual weight tied to the Nile and the afterlife. The goddess Nut was envisioned as the night sky itself, arching over the earth, her body spangled with stars. The heliacal rising of Sirius, the brightest star, heralding the constellation Canis Major, marked the flooding of the Nile, the event upon which Egyptian civilization depended. Here, constellations were clocks of eternity, their stories written not only in myth but in water and survival. Each star's rising was an echo of creation itself, a reminder that cosmic order and earthly fertility were one. In China, the starry sky was divided not into 12 zodiac constellations but into sprawling celestial palaces, with hundreds of named stars grouped into patterns of imperial life, courts, gates, officials, and guardians. The constellations reflected earthly hierarchy. Just as the emperor ruled the Middle Kingdom, the pole star ruled the heavens, and the surrounding constellations mirrored the imperial court. Every flicker of light above had a counterpart below. For Chinese astronomers, constellations were not just symbolic, they were tools of governance. The state's harmony was measured by the star's order, and an anomaly in the heavens was a warning of imbalance on Earth. Among the indigenous peoples of the Americas, constellations served as memory palaces, embedding wisdom in the stars. The Lakota saw the sacred hoop in the sky, linking stars into a circle that mirrored their earthly ceremonies. The Inca recognized constellations not only by the stars themselves but by the dark spaces between them, seeing animals like llamas and serpents formed by cosmic voids in the Milky Way. These dark constellations were woven into their myths and agricultural calendars, tying their lives to the breath of the galaxy itself. To them, the night sky was not distant but intimate, a living storybook, a mirror of the Earth's creatures and cycles. The Polynesians, master navigators of the Pacific, transformed constellations into a practical code of survival. Their voyaging canoes crossed thousands of miles of open sea guided only by the stars. To them, constellations were not abstract myth but literal maps, star lines that pointed to islands hidden beyond the horizon. Each star had a name, a position, a role in navigation. By memorizing these star paths, Polynesian navigators carried the Pacific in their minds, guided by patterns that to outsiders seemed decorative but to them were lifelines written in light. But why did every civilization create constellations? Perhaps because the human mind abhors chaos. Faced with the infinite scatter of stars, people reached instinctively for order, for stories that could tame infinity. The constellations transformed randomness into narrative, distance into intimacy, vastness into something human-sized. They were an antidote to the terror of scale, giving names and shapes to what might otherwise have been overwhelming. In this sense, constellations were not mere illusions but acts of survival, psychological anchors in a universe too immense to comprehend. Science, of course, demystifies constellations. The stars within each pattern are often separated by hundreds of light-years, unrelated in origin, linked only by the happenstance of perspective from Earth. Orion's belt, so perfectly aligned, is nothing but an accident of distance and angle. Yet this does not diminish their meaning. Constellations are real in the realm of human culture, even if not in astrophysics. They remind us that reality is not only what exists materially, but also what we create in imagination. The stories projected upon the stars are as much a part of human history as the stars themselves. Modern astronomy has formalized constellations into 88 official groupings, used to chart the heavens with precision. Telescopes peer into Orion's nebula, revealing stellar nurseries. Perseus hosts distant galaxies, Scorpius hides pulsars and black holes. The myths may no longer be the focus, yet they still linger, enriching the cold data of science with poetry. Even professional astronomers speak of the heart of Scorpius or the eye of Taurus, blending myth and measurement in a single language of awe. And still, constellations retain their symbolic power. We orient ourselves by them not only physically but emotionally. A child in one hemisphere gazes at Orion, while a traveler on the other side of the globe sees the same hunter and feels the same connection. The constellations are humanity's oldest shared language, a unifying story written across borders and centuries. They whisper to us that no matter how far apart we are, we look upon the same canvas, tracing the same patterns. Perhaps this is their silent code. Constellations are not about the stars but about us. They are mirrors of culture, repositories of myth, maps of memory, guides of survival. They show that meaning is not given but created, that humans transform the infinite into the intimate. And though stars will drift, constellations will dissolve over eons, and the sky will one day look utterly different, the act of drawing stories upon the heavens will endure. For as long as there are eyes to look upward, there will be shapes to trace, tales to tell, patterns to discover in the silence of the night. Among the most enigmatic and profound features of the night sky lies the Milky Way, that luminous river of stars stretching from horizon to horizon, a glittering bridge between the visible and the infinite. Unlike planets, comets, or constellations, the Milky Way is not a single object but a vast assembly of hundreds of billions of stars, gas, and dust, bound together by gravity and swirling around a hidden center. To the naked eye, it appears as a delicate, silvered smear across the heavens, but in reality, it is a galaxy, a cosmic city, containing more worlds than any human could ever imagine. Ancient observers could not know its structure, yet they felt its power, sensed its mystery, and imbued it with myth, awe, and meaning. The earliest records of the Milky Way are found across multiple civilizations. In Mesopotamia, it was referred to as the path of the gods, a celestial road along which deities traveled, bringing blessings or judgment to earth. In ancient China, it was called the Silver River, the heavenly river that separated the cowherd and weaver girl, two lovers kept apart by the void yet allowed to meet once a year during the Chishi festival. For the Maya, the Milky Way was the cosmic tree, the axis of the universe, connecting the underworld, earth, and the heavens. Across these cultures, one truth emerges. The Milky Way is not merely a collection of stars but a symbol of connection, of passage, of cycles between life and death, earth and sky. In the night skies of Africa, the Milky Way was a river of light in which spirits traveled, a guide for both navigation and spiritual journeys. Some indigenous Australian groups viewed it as the rainbow serpent, whose path shaped the land, water, and life, teaching moral and cosmological lessons through the patterns traced by its stars. To these observers, the Milky Way was alive, not static, a living structure embedded with lessons and warnings, a testament to the notion that the heavens mirror the life and order of the earth below. But beyond myth, the Milky Way posed real practical significance. For travelers and navigators, it was a guide during long journeys through deserts, forests, and oceans. Its orientation provided a sense of direction when other markers failed. By following the glowing arc overhead, people could maintain a sense of position even in featureless landscapes. This cosmic navigation was both literal and symbolic. The Milky Way was a path across the unknown, guiding humans through the darkness of the earth and the uncertainties of existence. The structure of the Milky Way itself is a marvel of cosmic engineering. It is a barred spiral galaxy, its arms winding outward from a dense central bulge, composed of older stars and a supermassive black hole at the very center. This black hole, Sagittarius A*, weighs over 4 million times the mass of our Sun, a silent sentinel anchoring the galaxy and orchestrating the motion of billions of stars. Each of these stars may host its own planetary system, some potentially capable of harboring life. The Milky Way is thus not merely a river of stars but a dynamic ecosystem on a cosmic scale, a swirling metropolis of matter and energy, ruled by gravity and time. Throughout history, humans have attempted to measure and understand this immense structure. Ancient Greeks, lacking telescopes, assumed the Milky Way was an atmospheric phenomenon. Aristotle suggested it was the glow of distant stars too faint to be seen individually. It was not until Galileo's telescope in the 17th century that the Milky Way was resolved into countless individual stars, shattering the illusion of a single misty river. The revelation transformed our understanding of the cosmos, expanding the known universe from the Earth-centered view to the vast, star-strewn galaxy we now inhabit. In medieval Europe, the Milky Way retained its mystique. Poets and philosophers described it as the road to heaven, the path of souls, or the embodiment of divine light. Dante imagined it as a celestial river flowing around the throne of God, guiding the virtuous toward eternity. Here, the Milky Way was both literal and metaphorical, a physical phenomenon in the sky and a bridge between human experience and the divine, the finite and the infinite. Its silvery glow evoked reflection on mortality, destiny, and the fragility of life amid vast cosmic forces. Modern astronomy has revealed ever more astonishing details. The Milky Way is part of a local group of galaxies, itself within the Virgo supercluster, stretching millions of light-years across space. Its spiral arms rotate, stars orbit its center, and new stars are born within giant nebulae while others die in supernova explosions, scattering elements across the galaxy. The Milky Way is not static, it is alive in a cosmic sense, constantly evolving. Our Sun itself orbits the galactic center at nearly 828,000 km per hour, taking approximately 225 million years to complete a single orbit. This means that since the dawn of life on Earth, the solar system has circled the galaxy only a few times, carrying Earth and its biosphere on an ancient journey through cosmic history. Yet despite this scientific understanding, the Milky Way retains its power to inspire awe. When viewed from a dark location on Earth, away from city lights, it overwhelms perception, stretching across the sky in a spectacle of countless points of light. Its vastness is humbling, its beauty intoxicating, and its implications staggering. To stand beneath it is to confront both insignificance and connection, realizing that our lives, though brief, are entwined with a galaxy that has endured for over 13 billion years. The Milky Way also serves as a mirror for humanity's philosophical quest. Its arms, swirling and interwoven, suggest cycles, patterns, and rhythms. Its hidden center challenges our curiosity. Its scale confronts our perception of time and mortality. In this sense, the Milky Way embodies the silent code of the cosmos, the coexistence of order and chaos, permanence and change, visibility and mystery. It is both guide and riddle, map and myth, science and story. In literature, art, and culture, the Milky Way has continued to inspire generations. It symbolizes journeys, both physical and spiritual, paths through life and the afterlife, and the interconnection of all things. For astronomers, it is a laboratory to study the physics of stars and the chemistry of planets. For poets, it is a canvas upon which the imagination can paint stories of gods, heroes, and cosmic destinies. It is, simultaneously, a fact of science and a vessel for human wonder. Ultimately, the Milky Way reminds us that we are part of something immense and enduring. Its silent brilliance, spanning the sky, carries the memory of countless civilizations who have looked upward in wonder, and it carries the promise of discoveries yet to come. As we peer into its depths with ever more sophisticated telescopes, the river of stars whispers the same eternal message, that in the grand architecture of the cosmos, we are both fleeting and integral, observers and participants, carriers of consciousness amidst the glittering vastness. Among the most mysterious and profound elements of the night sky are the black holes, cosmic enigmas where the very fabric of space and time is bent beyond comprehension. Unlike the stars that shine or the planets that wander predictably, black holes are invisible to the eye, detectable only through their effects on surrounding matter. They embody paradox, creation within destruction, absence within presence, gravity so extreme that nothing, not even light, can escape. To ancient civilizations, such phenomena would have seemed impossible, but even today, with our advanced telescopes and equations, black holes evoke the same awe, fear, and fascination that the ancients felt before the unknown. They are the ultimate demonstration that the universe holds secrets that challenge not only knowledge but imagination itself. The concept of invisible, all-consuming forces has long resonated with human thought. While black holes were only mathematically predicted in the 20th century, ancient myths often imagined voids or devouring entities in the heavens. The Norse described Nhggr, a dragon gnawing at the roots of the cosmic tree Yggdrasil. Some indigenous American traditions spoke of dark stars or voids in the Milky Way as places where spirits travel or disappear. These myths, though not scientific, hint at a deep human intuition, that emptiness, like light, has power, and that the cosmos contains forces beyond ordinary perception. It was Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity in 1915 that provided the framework to understand such objects. Einstein revealed that massive objects warp the fabric of space and time, bending light and altering motion. Soon after, Carl Schwarzschild solved Einstein's equations for a point mass, describing a singularity with an event horizon, the boundary beyond which nothing can return. This theoretical black hole was initially a curiosity of mathematics, an abstract prediction that seemed too strange to exist. Yet nature, as it so often does, proved more imaginative than our models. Observational evidence soon followed. In the 1960s, astronomers detected X-rays emanating from regions where no visible star existed, indicating the presence of compact, massive objects consuming matter. Cygnus X1 became the first strong candidate for a stellar mass black hole. Later, the discovery of supermassive black holes in the centers of galaxies, including our own Milky Way Sagittarius A*, transformed our understanding of cosmic structure. These colossal entities, millions or even billions of times the mass of the Sun, govern the motion of stars and the formation of galaxies, suggesting that black holes are not anomalies but essential architects of the universe. The physics of black holes challenges intuition. As matter falls toward the event horizon, it accelerates to nearly the speed of light, heating up and emitting tremendous radiation. Time itself behaves strangely. An observer far from the black hole would see infalling matter slow and freeze as it approaches the edge, while the falling object experiences a smooth, albeit fatal, descent. These paradoxes, time dilation, spaghettification, loss of information, push our understanding of reality to its limits, blending physics with philosophy. What does it mean for information to be lost? For time to warp? For space to curve infinitely? Black holes are cosmic mirrors reflecting the boundaries of human comprehension. Black holes also play a symbolic role in the human imagination. They are often associated with mystery, danger, and the unknown. In literature and art, they represent ultimate endings, portals to other dimensions, or the inexorable pull of fate. Carl Sagan popularized their wonder, showing that these dark objects could be both terrifying and beautiful, places where physics becomes poetry. They remind us of our smallness in the cosmic scale, yet also our capacity to reason, explore, and understand phenomena that would otherwise be unimaginable. Astrophysical study of black holes continues to reveal surprises. The detection of gravitational waves in 2015 by LIGO, produced by the collision of two black holes, confirmed another prediction of Einstein and opened a new way to observe the cosmos. No longer must we rely solely on light, we can now sense the ripples in spacetime itself, feeling the echo of cataclysmic events billions of light-years away. These observations transform black holes from theoretical curiosities into tangible actors in the cosmic story, demonstrating that the universe communicates not only in light but in vibration, in silence, in the subtle fabric of spacetime. Yet for all their scientific significance, black holes retain a mystery that transcends equations. The Event Horizon Telescope's 2019 image of the supermassive black hole in M87 revealed a dark silhouette surrounded by glowing gas, providing humanity with the first visual confirmation of a phenomenon once purely theoretical. This image, both abstract and hauntingly real, evokes the same awe that ancient civilizations might have felt staring at an unknown night sky. It is a reminder that the universe is stranger than we imagine, and that even the most mind-bending predictions can be confirmed by observation, bridging intuition, imagination, and empirical truth. Philosophically, black holes challenge our notions of existence and permanence. They are places where matter is destroyed, or transformed, and where classical concepts of time and space break down. They are both endings and beginnings. The death of stars gives rise to these entities, yet their presence shapes galaxies and enables the birth of new stars and planets. In this sense, black holes embody cycles of creation and destruction, a cosmic echo of life itself. They whisper that the universe is not linear, that existence is layered with paradox, and that the boundaries of reality are more flexible than human perception allows. In contemplating black holes, humanity confronts both fear and wonder. Fear, because they remind us of forces far beyond control, of regions from which nothing returns. Wonder, because they are accessible to understanding, at least partially, through mathematics, observation, and reason. They invite us to push beyond conventional thinking, to imagine, to explore, and to accept that mystery and knowledge are inseparable. Perhaps the silent code of black holes is a meditation on limits and transcendence. They teach humility in the face of cosmic scale, curiosity in the presence of paradox, and awe in the encounter with the unknown. They are the ultimate guardians of cosmic secrets, invisible yet undeniable, destructive yet formative, dark yet illuminating the imagination. To study them is to brush against the infinite, to feel the pull of the universe's deepest truths, and to recognize that in darkness lies both fear and revelation. Among the most profound and awe-inspiring phenomena in the cosmos are neutron stars, remnants of massive stars that have ended their lives in spectacular supernova explosions, leaving behind objects so dense that a teaspoon of their matter would weigh billions of tons. Unlike ordinary stars, whose radiance is visible and whose life cycles span billions of years, neutron stars are extreme in every sense. Their gravity crushes atoms, their magnetic fields dwarf anything on Earth, and their rotations can reach hundreds of times per second. These stellar corpses are laboratories of physics, places where matter and energy are compressed to limits beyond imagination, and they reveal a universe governed by extremes, where the ordinary rules of experience no longer apply. The first hints of neutron stars came from theory. In the 1930s, physicists such as Walter Bade and Fritz Zwicky speculated that the core remnants of supernovae might collapse into incredibly dense objects composed primarily of neutrons. Their calculations suggested that these stars could be only about 20 kilometers across, yet contain more mass than the Sun. For decades, neutron stars were purely hypothetical, mathematical curiosities at the frontier of theoretical physics. Yet the possibility alone ignited wonder. What would it mean for matter to exist under such unimaginable pressure, for gravity to be so intense that it reshapes the very essence of atomic structure? In 1967, the universe unveiled one of its deepest secrets. Jocelyn Bell Burnell and Anthony Hewish discovered the first pulsar, a rapidly spinning neutron star emitting beams of radio waves like a cosmic lighthouse. Its precision was staggering, so regular that initial speculation even considered extraterrestrial origin. These pulsars, as they were later called, rotate with incredible consistency, rivaling the most precise atomic clocks on Earth. Each pulse is a reminder that even in death, stars can exert order on the cosmos, a rhythm emerging from the chaos of a cataclysmic explosion. Neutron stars are extreme in other ways. Their magnetic fields can be trillions of times stronger than Earth's, and their surfaces are a landscape of unimaginable density, with atoms crushed together so that electrons merge with protons, forming a neutron soup. Gravity near a neutron star is so strong that space and time themselves are warped, light is bent, time slows, and the very concept of up and down becomes meaningless. To stand on one, were it possible, would be to experience physics at its most alien, where intuition fails and the universe reminds us of its ultimate power. Yet neutron stars are not merely static remnants, they are dynamic, violent, and transformative. Some emit bursts of X-rays and gamma rays in periodic flares, while others in binary systems siphon matter from a companion star, forming accretion disks that blaze with energy. When two neutron stars collide, they produce gravitational waves, ripples in the fabric of spacetime, and forge heavy elements like gold and platinum in a process called kilonova nucleosynthesis. In this way, neutron stars are both relics and creators, destructive and generative, silent witnesses to the cycle of matter and energy across the cosmos. Culturally, neutron stars have inspired imagination and symbolism. Their pulsar beams, steady and rhythmic, echo themes of continuity, precision, and cosmic heartbeat. Ancient civilizations may not have known of these objects, yet human fascination with cycles, rhythm, and celestial clocks finds a mirror in the relentless pulses of these stars. They symbolize endurance, the persistence of order amidst cosmic chaos, and the hidden codes of timing and structure embedded within the universe. Scientific exploration continues to reveal their secrets. Advanced radio telescopes, X-ray observatories, and gravitational wave detectors allow humanity to probe these extreme stars with ever greater precision. Observations of binary neutron star mergers provide insight into the fundamental forces of nature, testing relativity under conditions impossible to reproduce on Earth. Each discovery adds depth to our understanding, yet also reinforces the sense of wonder. Neutron stars are at once familiar, as remnants of stellar life, and utterly alien, defying ordinary comprehension. Even aesthetically, neutron stars are remarkable. While invisible to the naked eye, they can create dazzling visual phenomena when interacting with surrounding matter, emitting jets and flares that illuminate space in brilliant colors. Artists and astronomers alike have depicted these events as cosmic lighthouses, beacons of extremes, emphasizing the balance between beauty and danger, order and chaos. Observing or imagining them evokes a profound mixture of awe and humility, revealing the universe as a place both meticulously ordered and wildly unpredictable. Perhaps the silent code of neutron stars lies in their duality. They embody the extremes of existence: density and emptiness, stillness and motion, destruction and creation. They are reminders that the universe operates on scales that dwarf human comprehension, yet that within these extremes lies the machinery of life itself. The gold in our jewelry, the elements in our bodies, may trace their origins to neutron star collisions, linking our mundane existence to the dramatic events of cosmic history. Neutron stars also teach patience and perspective. Their processes unfold over millennia and millions of light-years, rhythms invisible within a human lifetime yet persistent across the cosmos. To study them is to acknowledge the vastness of time and space, to see life and matter as fleeting episodes in a grander story. They remind us that the universe is at once a place of incomprehensible scale and intimate connection, that the building blocks of our world are forged in fires and collisions light-years away. In contemplating neutron stars, humanity confronts the extremes of both matter and imagination. They are cosmic paradoxes, at once violent and precise, destructive and creative, invisible yet profoundly influential. They whisper the same message as comets, black holes, and galaxies, that the universe carries a silent code, a rhythm of forces, cycles, and events that shape existence far beyond the limits of perception. They challenge us to expand our understanding, to embrace both mystery and knowledge, and to find meaning in the extremes of creation. The Milky Way shows us the galaxy, pulsars reveal precision, black holes remind us of limits, but neutron stars tell us that even in death, matter sings, pulses, and shapes the cosmos. They are the heartbeat of the universe, silent yet relentless, a testament to the resilience, creativity, and poetry embedded within the mechanics of existence. To look upon a neutron star, even in imagination, is to witness the ultimate interplay of fragility and power, transience and eternity, and to glimpse the silent code that underpins the universe itself.